Hey everyone, welcome to Games of a Generation episode 1. Today we're going to be answering the question of why Spider-Man PS4 is my favourite game of all time. Now, this may seem a bit biased towards my opinion. Obviously, everyone has their own opinion, so don't get mad at me if I say something that you don't agree with me. Not that you don't agree with. Obviously, I accept that everyone has an opinion. And, yeah, let's get straight into talking about it. So, Spider-Man PS4 is a great game. It's amazing. It is my favourite game of all time. And, it's mainly because it's a simple and effective game that doesn't really feel like a game. It feels more like a movie. It's just great. And yeah, so here you'll see the gameplay where you can swing around and do tricks, where you can do your melee combat, swap between gadgets, generate focus, pull off finishes, everything that you can normally do in everything else. And it's great.
I guess this is what they call a hostile workplace. Exactly do you think this ends well for you?
And I personally think this is the greatest video game adaptation of a comic they've ever had. And I just think it's great. And as we're going to explain, there is 3 different gameplay types. Spider-Man is just one of them. There are 2 stealth gameplay types which feature Spider-Man and which feature MJ and Miles Morales. As MJ, you can use cover objects, use lures to distract enemies, and stealthily get rid of them with a stun gun. For Miles, you can once again hide behind cover to let enemies past, and you have a hacking app to attract enemies so they go away from you so you can sneak past, like it is with MJ and her lures. And your goal is to not get spotted by any of the enemies so you can successfully complete the stealth missions, as that is the goal of stealth, if you couldn't tell. And the stealth sections are non-arguably the worst part of this game. Although, as long as you get used to them, they don't feel that bad. And when you're doing your tricks in the air, you get XP, which lets you level up, and then you can get skill points from it. You also get certain things from collecting collectibles, as you saw me collect a backpack, which allows you to buy new suits, new abilities, and new skills with your skill points, as you'll see here. And from here on out, there are going to be spoilers, so if you do not want to be spoiled, then please be advised. So the game starts off with you fighting Kingpin and getting him arrested for the first time ever. After the fight, he says this. Which proves true for the rest of the game. After this, Spider-Man goes to work with Dr. Octavius, who goes to work with who goes insane near the end of the game. He shows true colours, and you'll see that later on as we're going through everything. A new gang takes over the city in Wilson Fisk's place called the Demons. They bomb City Hall and they kill Miles' father. And it's led by Martin Lee, the owner of Feast. And Spider-Man manages to take down Martin Lee and put him behind bars. And after that, Dr. Octavius breaks into a raft and lets every prisoner free, including Martin Lee and every other person who Spider-Man has put away behind bars. And you can tell where this is going. New York is left in chaos. And it doesn't go too well. Spider-Man has to put every criminal back behind bars, and also take out every supervillain to stop them from running loose in New York and getting away with it. Because obviously you can't just have supervillains running rampant. Doc Ock shows his true colours after the raft breakout, and he releases Devil's Breath, which is meant to be a cure for every disease, but it ends up causing a new plague in New York. And he does this to spite Norman Osborn, who is the current mayor of New York in this situation. And he has a vendetta against Norman Osborn because Norman Osborn keeps trying to shut Otto Octavius' business down, and Peter Parker's obviously working with him, but Otto Octavius goes mad because he has a chip in the back of his neck that's letting him control his arms, and that changes his personality. After the raft breakout, Spider-Man has to deal with all the members of all his villains that have broke out of the prison, but not without them beating the utter crap out of him first. And to be fair, he fails. He gets many bones broken. I was meant to say many a bone broken, but you know, this was meant to be a scripted video, but it's not. I did originally record the audio without realizing my mic was muted the whole time. So yeah, he gets beaten the crap out of here, and then Otto Octavius finally shows himself to Spider-Man and pretty much reveals himself, saying, "Yo, you better stay out of our way. We're gonna try and take over New York because we need to get rid of Norman Osborn because he has cancer in the city." That's pretty much what he says. And yeah, this is where you get your first emotional thing of the game, where you pretty much get betrayed. And it's heartbreaking. And later on in the game, you finally take out all of the villains, and then you are left to deal with Otto Octavius. And this is a really emotional fight, and it is one of the few gamer moments that nearly made me cry, and not many things make me cry. And this genuinely made me feel sad, because you've gotten to know the character inside out, and then he betrays you. And after this, Miles Morales gets bit by the spider after Otto Octavius. Well, technically it's before, but I'm just putting it here. Otto Octavius gets put behind bars, and his arms are taken off him. He gets bitten by the spider here, and he ends up showing Peter his powers because he doesn't trust his mum to know that he's secretly going to be the next Spider-Man, which is a bit meaningful to know. But yeah, he only trusts Peter because he thinks he can understand. And yeah, it's where you get to see the first hint towards the next game in Insomniac Spider-Man run. Don't know what to call it. And this is where you see the wittiness of the game, where it's all jokes and everything. But the game isn't just jokes. It has dark themes. It has many a thing that are meaningful, and yeah, it's brilliantly written. And yeah, this is where you see that Peter's gonna train Miles. At the end of the game, Aunt May dies to Devil's Breath, and you get to see an emotional scene where Aunt May is knowing that Peter was Spider-Man the whole time, and then she dies. And it's a really emotional scene. Another scene that nearly made me cry. And it just... it is so emotional. And it's just... you just see that Peter loses everyone in his family. And he's the only one left in his family, but realistically, you get to learn that family isn't just family. Your closest friends can also be your family. And Miles becomes part of his family. MJ is technically family because him and MJ are dating, and Miles' family becomes his family as well. Just how it works. Sometimes friends are family. Aunt May is put in the grave next to Ben, my Uncle Ben's grave, and then you see that everything that's been hinted at through the game, the fact that Devil's Breath was made to be a cure for every disease, and it ended up being a bioweapon, you see what it was meant to cure. It was meant to cure his son Harry, who has been infected by a symbiote, probably Venom. And when everybody thought he was leaving for Europe, but he wasn't. He was stuck in Norman Osborn's containment tank trying to stay alive. And this is setting up a new villain for the next game. Overall, Spider-Man PS4 is a brilliantly written game that almost feels like a film. And it's no surprise, given that it's written by seasoned Spider-Man writers John Paquette, Benjamin Hoffman, and Kelsey Beachum, who have written countless Spider-Man stories in the past, and amazing ones at that. And that's why it feels like it's a film. The score of the game is composed by John Pisano, and his music feels like it is a cinematic Spider-Man film, but in reality it's just a game. And it immerses you in the experience. The gameplay is simple and effective, but that's what makes it so good. It doesn't need to be too complicated, because if it's too complicated, then it's just going to ruin the experience. Because if it's too complicated, there's just going to be too many things to grapple with, and it's just going to be horrifying to play. But since it's simple, it's just good to play. It's fun to play. It's brilliant. And that's what makes it fun. It's just... it's amazing. And I just... everything it sets up with all the new villains and all the hints towards other characters, like Green Goblin hints, possibly a hint towards Lizard near the end of the game, showing that Miles is going to be taught to be Spider-Man by Peter, and many other things. It really proves to be an amazing game. It also has DLC furthering on the story of Silver Sable from the main game, also bringing in Hammerhead and Black Cat as main villains for the DLC, who were only briefly mentioned in the DLC, who were only briefly mentioned during the main campaign. And it really does further on a story, and it's going to further on even more when I get to play Miles Morales, because even though it may be out, I haven't actually been able to play it yet because I don't have my PS5, which I'm getting for Christmas. Yes, Miles Morales playthrough is coming. It will come after Crash. Possibly before. I don't know. Because I will probably get too engrossed in Miles Morales. And I still need to finish Crash. I've got videos lined up to upload, but I keep forgetting to upload them. So, more videos for Crash coming soon. Miles Morales in a few weeks as well. So let's talk about my rating for this game. Yes, it is my favourite game of all time. It feels so immersive. But it has a few little glitches that can be fixed as long as you close the game. But if you don't, you're kind of screwed. And it just kind of breaks the game that way. But there's very few that I encountered, and it's not really a very buggy game. So I have to give this game a rating of 9.5 out of 10. For its perfect score, its perfect story, the simplistic but effective gameplay, and everything else. The fact that it feels like a film more than a game. It feels too immersive. And by too immersive, I mean it feels like you're really in the game. It feels like you are Spider-Man as you're playing through this. But it being too immersive is a good thing. And it lets you play the game for a lot more time than you'd expect to. And it's just overall brilliant. It's a great experience. And if you have a PS4, or you are getting the Miles Morales Ultimate Edition for PS5, I would highly recommend playing this. Which is why I said spoilers earlier. Because if you haven't played the game, there's going to be heavy spoilers, which there was. Which is why I recommended you skipping through most of it. And yeah, I really recommend that you play it. I reckon you will find it extremely fun. Especially if you're an MCU or comic fan, you will love this game. And it is possibly, in my opinion, the greatest game ever made. It's up there with Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, but it is above them because it is so amazing. It's just a brilliant game. And yeah, it's just great. But yeah, I really recommend playing it. But anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video, which will most likely be a Crash video. So see y'all, thanks.
Norman gets what he deserves.